Guys, and welcome to the full review of the newest KZ TWS or True Wireless System Audio, the VXS. So for the build quality and connectivity, the case is made out of a pure matte plastic. It feels lightweight yet durable. It has an average tactile feel if I feel it to it, and you can take a closer look at it if you haven't had the opportunity to slowly look at it in the showcase previously in this video. It has an average tactile feel. It doesn't cheap yet doesn't feel expensive for its price. So the IEM itself, which I am using currently right now to record audio so that you can also gauge the mic output in this one. So here it is. You can see. It is 30% metal and 70% plastic. Some parts of the faceplate you can see in the shinier part right here is metal, and the entirety of the nozzle is metal, and the rest is plastic. So it feels good on the ear when I'm using it. I've used this continuously for a week or more or so. So it doesn't bother at all when it's in place. So for the connectivity, it connects to a device like a dream. Everything is snappy and to the touch. So touch response on the faceplate is great too, with minimal latency between input and response in any device. And also, latency in gaming is brilliant. It almost sounds like a wired device due to its extremely low delay. If you press the faceplate around 3 times, it'll switch to a high performance mode, which gives you the ability to have a lower latency. So it's the best TWS I currently have in terms of connectivity and latency. So that's great for KZ if they really nailed that Bluetooth implementation. So for the sound, so for the overall tonality, it strongly straddles the line between the EDA balance and heavy bass version. So I must commend KZ for giving us a fun sounding IEM without sacrificing mid-range maturity and control of both bass and treble frequencies. So it can also suffer some distortion in higher volumes. It might be due to its Bluetooth or wireless nature. Sometimes Bluetooth devices does that when it's reach its higher volumes. It kind of distorts a bit. So overall, another win for KZ in terms of sound. They're finally coming to a point in leaving behind the heavy V-shaped sound in favor of for a fun yet nuanced listen. So for the bass, it brings the boomy and punchy kicks when the song needs it. It does not bleed too much into other frequencies. It's still mid-bass focus, which can be heard from its predominant kick and punches with average attack and decay. So even with its bias on punch, it still brings in the meat and rumble by not leaving the sub-bass frequencies behind. The texture in the bass is honestly a shocker for a TWS, even in its punchy response. Texture in the bass is honestly a shocker for a TWS. Even its punchy response, it still has quite a texture to it that I still haven't heard from all the TWS that I have reviewed. So that's a great aspect. So said bass texture is palpable out of the box, which really shows KZ's mastery of tuning their dynamic drivers. So if you haven't known, this VXS is powered by a single dynamic driver in each side. So for the mid-range, even with its more balanced approach, it still remains KZ's weakness in terms of tuning. It features the same balance and more natural mid-range approach of recent KZ or CCA releases, but still quite lack the meatiness and layering to them. So focus on the higher mid-range frequencies in bringing the balance and clarity, thus favors higher pitch instruments and vocals. As said, female vocals are preferred here because of the sweetness of the upper mid-range, so it beautifully renders with a little bit of spice to it to keep things exciting. So for the male vocals has a slight to medium amount of veil to its presentation. So if you're into rock or metal, their growls and lower register voices can take quite a hit. So instruments are generally rendered on the linear side of the balance spectrum. The VXS is nice for string section instruments like violins, guitars, etc., but is generally underwhelming in the brass section like tubas. So for the treble, it has a lot of energy and vitality to its response. It still suffers from KZ's near patented artificial sounding treble response. So more on that later. It's focused more on shimmer rather than body, which gives crispiness and utmost clarity to modern produced albums. The aforementioned artificiality still plays a VXS. So if you haven't known what I'm referring to, the uh, artificiality to the treble response of KZIEMs. It has moments where treble sounds forced to give out a fake sense of hi-fi-ness to it. You didn't know what I'm talking about, which in turn results in a sometimes fatiguing listen with an off-putting timbre. So, despite my gripes with it, it's still on the better side of Casey's releases when compared to their older, heavy V-shaped IEMs of the past. So finally, for the soundstage and imaging, it has a surprisingly better soundstage capability than Casey's wired IEM releases, which is really great for its second purpose of gaming. It's not an overly cavernous experience. It has an average height and width to really just complement its great imaging. So as said, imaging is nice with everything sounding separate while cohesing together to form a bodied sound. So that's it for my uh, showcase and full review of the KZ VXS. So I would like the KZ official store through Tyvan Lam by sponsoring me this IEM. So you can get it at their AliExpress, or if you're in the Philippines, in their Shopee page. So yeah, that's the rest of my review. So yeah, Goji here, out. I'm out. Goodbye.